The regular meeting of the City Council for June 7th and ask for the invocation and pledge by Mrs. McGregor.
Father God, we ask your blessing and wisdom as we decide issues for the city of Gahanna. We ask for protection, as always, on the men and women of our public and armed forces, or our police and armed forces. Amen. And for the pledge, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic
for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Angelo?
Here.
Bowers?
Here.
Lyric?
Here. Regular meeting of the Council for June 7th and ask for the invocation and pledge by Mrs. McGregor.
McGregor?
Here.
This is behind.
Renner?
Here.
And Schnetzer?
Here.
Thank you. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda? None appearing. We'll move to hearing of visitors. I do have a note for several speakers. If there's any I've missed, please let me know. At this time, I would like to call on Ms. Brenda Hoffman. If you would give your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes, Ms. Hoffman.
Hello.
Hi, Brenda.
Hi. My name is Brenda R. Hoffman. I live at 279 High Meadow Drive, Gahanna, Ohio, 43230. Good evening, Council, Mayor, and others. Carol wanted to speak also, and then he decided it was easier if I put together a list of questions, which I have forwarded to you for your convenience. Is it acceptable if he cedes his 3 minutes to me?
Yeah, that's fine.
Right. Thank you very much.
And well, let me just correct. Does council have any objection?
No objection.
Thank you.
No.
Okay. Thank you very much. First off, no matter how this question sounds, I admire and respect all of you, and I appreciate your service. I just discovered that, a long list of things that I've asked about have not been answered. I know you're all busy, but I don't want things sliding through the cracks because that's how, in the past, I've been lied to. So I want to know about nuisance code and when is it coming to council. I know it may not be ready right away, but I kind of like to have an idea of when because we're still having noise problems. Also, has the Code Enforcement Appeal Board for the Commission been formed yet? What's going on with code enforcement as far as the supervisor hiring, SOPs, and policy? We're still watching closely what's happened with disparity between how some residents are treated and other residents are treated. So you have my question there about when will that all be addressed, the level set sort of thing that the mayor said she was doing with that department. I wanted to know if somebody can provide a written copy to me, because for years we've been hearing about, now Brenda, calm down, we want, whoever's neighbor coming into voluntary compliance. And what we see is that voluntary compliance is offered to some, but not others. We were thinking it was more like emergency water heater, HVAC, and that's not the case. It happens sometimes with roofs that had no permit that are put in the same day. And we're seeing it applied to roofs that were put in 2 months ago, that the double fee for no permit isn't happening. We also wanted to know what happened to the swimming pools that were inspected when we asked that they waive the pool fee. No permit was applied for, then they cancel a permit. It looks like that waived the fine, even though the pool stayed up 30, 60 days, or still is in some situations, being used. Okay, now this is the biggie one. You all know what happened to me with code enforcement illegally telling me I had to pour a new sidewalk, letting everybody else lift and patch. You had no code for offsets, inches. You had no code, no right to apply a commercial standard to my residence as a residence. There were some promulgation things going on, but at the basis of all that was code enforcement. And part of that was code enforcement came out for the forester. The forester missed an appointment. We had to pour a bad sidewalk. Now, we're addressing sidewalk code, which is fabulous. Thank you, Lord. That's all wonderful. But that tree, that stump, it's still there. So Has the city lied to me again? Is that tree your tree per this landscape code, or is this tree the property of the neighbor? If it's yours, when are you going to get the stump out? Because I've already opted out, and I really want that stump out, and I want to pour a final legal sidewalk and be done with this. This has been 4 years of hell and heartache for us. Secondly, if this belongs to the neighbor abutting property, it's been 4 years, once again, since that violation was filed. When are you going to force the removal of that stump so I can get my sidewalk poured? I have already opted out. I thank you for sending Jason Collins out this past week for the other neighbors that wanted to pour, but we have a problem with trees. And I love trees, and I'm a horticulturalist at heart and a master gardener. So if you own that tree, that's great. If they own it, that's great. Whatever. Somebody do something to get that stump out of my way. Okay, next. While you're in the Chapter 913 for your purposes, which is sidewalks and street trees, how about we go back to that August 5th, 2020 conversation my husband had with Ray Malarski and the mayor about what AEP told us about our transformers out here. We had a problem with the cottonwood tree. The cottonwood tree's gone now. Again, on February 15th, my husband asked, with photos and statements, please do something about the fact that people store mulch, wheelbarrows, firewood, tools, you name it, it's sitting on top of these boxes. And he's witnessed somebody dying with a hot stick. We got screamed at this last power outage because we were out there and 15 feet away and they were yelling at us to get back in our house because somebody's got boxwood planted around that pad transformer. So can we just go ahead while we're in there messing up the code or making it straight or redoing it? Can we just please get this in there for safety purposes so you can start kind of telling people this is not here for your general storage ability. This is here for the safety and the well-being of the AEP workers. Finally, curb trees. This is the hot ticket. This is the item. Everything looks like you're going to enforce this landscape board, comprehensive landscape plan for curb trees. What about those of us who do not want to jack up sidewalks again with curb trees? And I've sent a detailed article to the mayor and asked Julie Perderi questions, and I've called everybody I know at OSU, the extension agents, Purdue University, all of the arborists I knew, and I took a list of 15 out of the Columbus phone book. And root pruning is not the way thing to do, but if these people want to spend their $100, $125 an hour on an arborist to have their own roots pruned, that's fine. I personally have more trees in my yard. I should already be grandfathered in because of how you nailed me on a supposed violation in a repeal period on this last time. I made an agreement with Rob Winley. I put the trees in my yard. But I want to know for everybody else as well, what are you doing with curb trees when we don't want them in the curb yard? What are you going to do? How are you going to do it? And where is that going in the code? I know we're a tree city, but everybody I talked to at the Arbor Foundation and all the people I've asked to write back to me, some of which haven't finished yet, are telling me that curb trees are not what makes us a tree city USA. And the whole reason we had those nasty calorie pears, that was when I was in horticulture school when they came out, because we wanted to be aesthetically pleasing. You know what? We're wrecking forests out west because of our aesthetically pleasing back here east. We have USDA spending millions upon millions trying to eradicate that out of our woodlands. I told you guys this 4 years ago, and everybody looked at me like I was crazy. Now we have policies that aren't even in code where we're letting people take them out because, oh, it's this bad species and it's lifting the sidewalk. But then when my friends and neighbors ask, they can't take it out because 40% of the head of the canopy is not gone yet. It's ridiculous. We need things to be really well written. The frustration is great. I apologize. It's been 4 years. Can we once and for all be done? I am not going to borrow your money and pay prevailing wage. I'm opting out. My husband is opting out. We want to pour. We had our folks out here. We poured our new patio. We had no answers from you. I asked Jason to inspect mine while he was here. He wouldn't do it. He said, why don't you just wait for the city program? I know he was a little fed up with me. But had he just said, Brenda, you pour from here to here, it's this 12 feet or it's that 11 feet, I could have gone ahead and poured while my contractor was here. So this is getting to be old now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brenda. I have I believe another speaker this evening. Is Teresa Thrash on? Did you wish to speak this evening?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Let me take. I'm trying to take you off the speakerphone.
Sure. If you would give your name and
Can you hear me
address.
now?
If you can give your name and address for the record, you have 3 minutes, ma'am.
Okay, the name's Teresa Thrash, and I live at 245 Maybank Court. And good evening. And my primary purpose of joining tonight is to talk about the curb trees. I've lived here when the homeowners association came around to plant the trees, and they tried to talk me into planting them, and I selected not to because I didn't want to have to clean up the leaves. I was, and I'm still very satisfied with the one tree in the middle of the yard. Can you hear me okay? Is that the next thing? You can't hear me?
No, yes, you're fine.
Okay. Okay, for the next 30 years, for the next 30 plus years, my neighbor and I have dealt with cleaning up leaves that some people don't care to take care of, as they're left to blow down the street, down the cul-de-sac. And Leonard and I are religiously for the whole fall cleaning up other people's leaves. The other thing is the current trees that were planted produce small berries. They're slippery when crushed and are wet, and they stick to your shoes, so you're constantly tracking them in the house. And a lot of people in the cul-de-sac clean them up, but mostly they don't. They're left to lay on the sidewalks. If the other trees that you guys are choosing to plant in the yards, assuming we're going to have the same issues, because people aren't enforced to take care of their trees, and they're not enforced to take care of the sidewalks. So recently, speaking of sidewalks, Ben, Leonard, and I recently spent a sizable amount of money to replace the sidewalks, because we had there were two trip hazards. One was produced by tree roots that affected my sidewalk, not raising my sidewalk, but in order to meet his sidewalk, we went ahead and replaced two sections of the sidewalk on that side. And we did have one that was a trip hazard. So we placed ours to make sure that there was a smooth transition for both sides. Now being retired and on a fixed income, don't assume that we have the extra money just laying around to trim tree roots that start to grow underneath the sidewalk. And the tree roots do interfere with the downspout drainage pipe. We had a problem with my neighbor's issue, and that's going to be another homeowner responsibility, not the city's. And lastly, there are gas pipes that run in the curb strip. The recommendation from the gas company is that trees should not be within 25 feet of the lines. One added attraction that I have on my property is we have a sewer inspection lid in the middle of the driveway. An added attraction. So my thinking and my saying is to give homeowners a choice. But if you plan to not enforce the maintenance compliance, then please just don't do it. So that's my 3 minutes, and that's my say.
Thank you, Ms. Dash.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if this other person wishes to speak this evening, or if there's just notice that they were going to attend, but I have a note for Vicky Emerald. Did you wish to speak this evening? I'll go ahead and move on. If for some reason you're having an issue getting in contact or being heard, send a note to the to Crystal or myself, and we'll get you back into speaking here this evening. With that, I will move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
So moved, Renner.
Second.
We have a motion to adopt the consent agenda by Mr. Renner and a second by Mr. Schnetzer. Is roll call?
Renner,
Yes.
Schnetzer,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Lyric,
Yes.
Leesburg,
Yes.
McGregor,
Yes.
and Angelo.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. At this time, is there, let's see, ordinances for first reading? Have someone introduce the item for first reading?
Mr. President, I'll introduce the items under section F.
The section E?
I apologize, correct, section E.
Thank you, Mr. Schnetzer. Moving to section F, we have ordinances for introduction, waiver, and adoption. We have one ordinance under section F, ordinance 0032, 2021, an ordinance to amend ordinance 0014, 2021, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into contract with Strasser Paving Company, Incorporated, for the 2021 residential street program ST1075, and to approve a supplemental appropriation and waive second reading. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 0032, 2021?
So moved.
Second, Renner.
Motion by Mr. Schnetzer to adopt 0032, 2021, and a second by Mr. Renner. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Yes, Council President, could we have a clarification from the administration as to waiver on this item?
I actually believe this item is coming from the council clerk due to a clerical error that was made previously, if I'm not mistaken. Crystal, are you able to speak to that?
Sure. Thanks, Lori. Yeah, this was a clerical error that we've discovered it was first seen at the Committee of the Whole meeting in March, and the original legislation was lacking a 10% contingency, which was requested from the Director of Public Service and Engineering, and it also did not include the request for supplemental. So the department received $200,000, but they're unable to transfer the funds until this is approved.
Thank you. Any further discussion on ordinance 0032, 2021?
No, thank you.
Roll call, please.
Schnetzer,
Yes.
Renner,
Yes.
Leesburg,
Yes.
McGregor,
Yes.
Angelo,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Lyric,
Yes. Motion carries. Hold on one second, please.
Mr. Chair, I think that Vicki.
I'm looking at that right now.
Emerald. Yeah.
Give me 1 second, folks. I want to catch up with Miss Emerald. Crystal, do you see that email?
I do, yeah.
Can
So
you contact her and give her some assistance?
sure.
While the clerk is assisting the resident who wishes to speak, 1 second, that may very well be her.
She has a 740 phone number.
Yes,
Is that what just popped up?
It did.
Yeah, I just let her in.
Miss Emerald, can you hear?
Yeah, hi, this is Vicki. Sorry to
Hi.
interrupt.
Not a problem.
Apparently I wasn't admitted to the meeting. So anyway, so you guys doing
Arno?
Certainly. Apologies for that. Crystal, are you able to coordinate this back with our public comment?
What was the question?
Are you able to put this together with our public comment?
Yeah, she can go ahead and speak, and I'll add it under hearing of visitors.
Perfect. Ms. Emerald, if you would give your name and address for the record. For the moment, we'll step to public comment, and you have 3 minutes to speak. If you would give your, and I'm sorry, I think I just said it. If you would give your name and address for the record.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'll do that again. Yeah, I was talking, nobody was hearing. I had emailed like around 4 o'clock that I wanted, and it was confirmed that I didn't know I wasn't admitted. Okay. So anyway, Vicki Emerald, and I'm at 260 Maybank. So obviously we're all neighbors here. And really the questions that I'm having, I had sent back in April when feedback was being requested, have to do with some of the subject matter that we've been discussing with the other folks, and within our neighborhood. And my issues have to do with the fact that questioning about the trees being removed. I had 4 questions that I posed back in April. My sidewalks are relatively new, but there is some displacement on one of the sidewalks that's up about a half an inch. The trees, the trees should be removed from my curb. And I was under the impression, or I'm hearing that, potentially the city's going to do the tree removal. And I was, wanting to query about that, because if the city's not going to do it, it'll need to be done, because it's going to do nothing except keep jacking up my sidewalks, which I really, I don't have the money to replace my sidewalks. I want to see what other kind of solutions are in place, for the problem that's going on currently. I have neighbors on either side of me whose displacement is like worse than mine, but they'll have to deal with that. The other concern that I had was, I understand that there was going to be concrete replacement being coordinated by the city, and the city, I was curious whether you were going to have an actual quote that would be provided to me, the homeowner, for the total replacement cost. Like there might be a discount, because of for people that need to replace sidewalks because of the volume discount. And so, these are the first 2 questions. Is the city going to potentially remove the trees and the roots? Or is that going to be the responsibility of the homeowner? Is the city going, I know the homeowner is responsible for the sidewalks, but is the city going to coordinate? So potentially there was going to be some financing ability provided by the city, as well as even perhaps some discounts because of volume. That's question number 2. So question number 3 of 4, this is more of a long-term, I suppose. The curbs and the gutters and the driveway aprons, are these going to be replaced? I know they've started some of that work at the other end of High Meadow. I'm hoping that that's happening, because this infrastructure is is crumbling on our streets. And I understand that this is something that's in discussions, or that's my impression. And what would be the expected start date for this neighborhood, for the Maybank neighborhood? And my last question is going to be, is there going to be a project timeline shared with the general public and on each of these issues? And when is the start of each of these infrastructure projects? Because right now it appears to me like trees are a hot item, and sidewalks are a hot item. My concern is the curbs and the gutters and the driveway aprons, and then knowing, when all this is going to, in the planning of things, when are these going to be executed? What kind of a timeline is being put together for each of these infrastructure projects? Those are my 4 questions that I posed back in April. And that's what I have.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Emerald.
Thank you.
I would say that, and we've had several discussions or comments this evening around sidewalks, streets, curbs, trees, et cetera. I think a portion of that, at least some portion of that, is incorporated in the discussion that'll be in committee, or potentially is in committee next week, as the legislation was introduced this evening and is set to go back to committee of the whole next week. So we may have additional discussion at that time on this topic.
How do we report that back to, how is that reported back? I mean, I have just, do I keep going back on the site? Do I need to be attending the meetings, or what do I do to make sure that I know these are actually being discussed and moved forward?
So you have submitted an email that I would expect that will be responded to. Typically, those emails are reviewed and responses back. In addition to any topics with regard to the discussion, certainly all of our meetings are open to the public, and everyone is welcome and whenever possible asked to attend to stay aware of active debate and discussion of legislation in front of council and administration.
All righty then. Thank you very much for listening.
Absolutely. Thank you. Moving back to section G, ordinance for introduction, waiver, and emergency adoption. We have one item under section G, ordinance 0037-2021, an ordinance to amend ordinance 0016-2021, an ordinance establishing the salaries for personnel of the city of Gahanna for the period January 1, 2021 through December 31, 2021, waive second reading and adopt as emergency. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 0037-2021, waive second reading and adopt as emergency?
Council President, I'll move to adopt the ordinance under item G1 with waiver and emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Bowers. Is there a second?
Stetser, second.
We have a motion to adopt 0037-2021, waive second and adopt as an emergency, and by Ms. Bowers and a second by Mr. Schnetzer. Any discussion? None appearing. Roll call.
Bowers,
Yes.
Schnetzer,
Yes.
McGregor,
You're muted.
Renner.
Yes.
I saw your lips move.
Okay.
Renner,
Yes.
Angelou,
Yes.
Flerick.
Yes.
And Leesburg.
Yes.
Motion carries. Moving to correspondence and actions, Madam Clerk.
We have nothing for council.
And members of council. I do have a note, just an additional note with regard to sidewalks. I think it's along the same lines of the other questions that have been had, and would expect that that becomes a part of the ongoing discussion that we have next committee meeting. Also received a note with regard to city property and schools. There seems to be some discussion around the history of any potential discussions with regard to the schools and the city property. What's interesting is my history with regard to, from an administrative standpoint, is that the administrations, all the way back to Becky Stinchcomb and Tom Nealand, have always been at a minimum interested in seeing a potential opportunity for the community, for the city property and the schools to engage in a discussion and a potential cohesive or coordinated development that is best for the schools and best for the city. So I'm not sure what may be occurring there, but that is my understanding of all of the administrations I've been involved with. I believe Mayor Jadwin as well. So if there's any hiccups there, I don't know where that would be, because I know all the discussions that I've ever participated in, all of the administrations, members of council, everybody, we all have our own positions. But my understanding is, at a minimum, some members of council have been on board with those discussions. So I'm sorry, Mayor Jadwin, you have your hand up.
I did, thank you. And I just wanted to PS on that, and you're absolutely right. And thank you for sharing the email that you had received. And just a quick response, we have been actually engaged in, I think, some very positive conversations with the school district with regard to an overlap that we have identified. We've been in the process of concluding a facilities assessment, and through that process identified at least 4 different areas where there is what I'm calling a Venn diagram overlap, where there would seem to be some mutually beneficial opportunities for us to potentially collaborate with the school. So we've had some very positive meetings. We're continuing those discussions, and right now they're just discussions. So hopefully we'll get something more concrete soon, and we'll be able to share that with you. But they've had their hands full with graduation and a ribbon cutting this week. So we're looking forward to getting the next meeting scheduled and continuing those discussions as well. But to your point, Councilman, I know as prior, I can't speak to prior administrations, but I know that you and I have discussed as well what prior communications have been. We also have conveyed our interest in exploring whatever opportunities there are for us to work together with the school district. So again, we're very happy that they have been open to dialogue and look forward to continuing that path.
Okay, thank you. Losing track of my list here. Any other items from council?
Mrs. York, I guess I was just, could you forward, I'm not sure what that is in reference to. Are you able to forward that to the rest of council so that we can see what the concern was about property? I'm not sure that I saw that.
Certainly, the email came from Tom Nealand with regard to city property being conveyed in some fashion to the school district, and there appears to be a statement that there's an issue on the city side that doesn't make sense, because every member of the administration I've ever talked to in the history that I've been here has been positive with regard to that being, there may be a hiccup. There's always a potential of funding, et cetera, that may become something that is a stumbling block. But until that happens, that I'm aware of, everyone from an administrative side, and certainly from my perspective, sees the cooperative path forward in that being best for the community. So.
Okay, thank you. And that's not different from my understanding as well, that there's a lot of interest from both the school board and the administration on collaboration, because we all value our schools and value what it means to the families that live here. So thank you for addressing that.
Moving to representatives, Community Improvement Corporation, Mr. Leesburg.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Lurk. Yeah, the CIC, it was pointed out to me that, I don't know if I made this clear or not, or how many folks know, but the CIC actually purchased 110 High Street, otherwise known as the Kuman building. Anyway, that purchase was done in the last couple of months. This building is currently being leased by the CIC to small businesses, and would be a strategic property for future projects. The next meeting for the CIC is 6/15.
Thank you. Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission, Mrs. Angeli. You're on mute.
Our next meeting is this Thursday for a commission meeting, and we're going to be kind of honoring a couple people, including Neil Jurist, who has got some things that are going really well for her. And we're also going to celebrate the retirement of our good friend, a family member of Morpsey, Marilyn Brown. That's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner, Convention and Visitors Bureau, Mr. Leesburg.
Too many screens open. Hang on a second. There we go. Yeah, the CVB. There's a new visitors guide in the works, and it should be released later in the summer. The spring herbal cocktail trail runs through the end of June. The summer version will begin July 1st. So if you need to finish those up, you got until the end of June. The music lineup for the Creekside Blues and Jazz Fest will be announced June 14th, and ticket sales will start on June 18th. The Herb Center planter beds have received a facelift, some new plant material things, and there are new identifying markers that have been placed. And so you can go and learn about all the things that are planted around the Herb Center. And in May, the Herb Center hosted 2 groups came to visit Gahanna. Thank you.
Thank you. And School Board, Mr. Schnetzer.
Nothing at this time, Mr. President. Thank you.
Certainly. Official reports, Madam Mayor.
Yes, thank you very much. I forwarded to council and to the council clerk for addition to the agenda, the detailed mayor's report that I submitted every regular council meeting. Again, not an exhaustive list of everything that's happening here, but it's intended to provide you with an update of ongoing projects and what we are working on. So as always, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to me directly. Just a few items wanted to touch base on, some things coming up this week. Monthly billing. This month will bring about the conclusion of our transition to monthly billing. And I know it's been a little bit confusing at times for folks, but this is something that our residents have asked for many years. Having that quarterly surprise when you get your bill. The monthly billing process will actually allow people to, I think, track their usage and also budget on a better basis going forward. So by the end of June, all of these cycles through the billing should be finished, and we should officially be fully transitioned to monthly billing. So we appreciate everybody's patience as we have worked through that. July 4th, we made an announcement late last week. It was a little bit hairy there for a little bit, but Our fireworks company came through for us, and many thanks to Stephanie Farrell, our Director of Parks and Recreation, and her team for really working diligently with Pyrotechnico and getting the fireworks date set up. So we originally were scheduled for July 4th for fireworks. However, we had some public safety concerns that were raised both by Gahanna PD as well as Mifflin Township Fire to align with the other municipalities that are surrounding us, which for some reason this year all moved to July 3rd. So again, our fireworks company worked with us, and so we moved fireworks to July 3rd. The traditional parade will happen on July 4th. We have pushed back the start of that parade to noon to allow time. We recognize that's a Sunday, so we wanted to allow time for services in the morning for folks as well. So the parade will start at noon. We'll begin at Clark Hall and follow the path that it traditionally does. If you'd like to register to be in the parade, you can go to gahanna.gov. All the information is there. And also for fireworks at the golf course, we are asking people to just pre-register. It's free, but we're trying to just track how many people we're having on the golf course. We recognize that the world is free and open these days as of June 2nd, but we also recognize many people are not necessarily comfortable with that. There's some level of trepidation. So we do want to manage the number of people we have on the golf course. And if you don't want to pre-register, there are plenty of places around Gahanna where you can get a great view of the fireworks. But we're very excited to be able to bring those back and to get back to some sense of normalcy with the celebration. This Friday, I know I've had it in my mayor's report a few times, but Officer Carl Schmuckel announced his early retirement from the Gahanna Division of Police. So his last official day on duty will be this Friday, June 11th. And at 10 a.m. in front of police headquarters, we will be honoring him with kind of the traditional ceremonial goodbye that the police department does. So if you are available to stop by and wish him well and thank him for 32 years of dedicated service, we invite you to join us for that. Again, this Friday at 10 a.m. in front of police headquarters. Open interviews, lifeguards, pools are open, yay. However, we still need lifeguards. Our Brian Gill Houston did a great job on Channel 10. Channel 10 had reached out to Karen Wester, our communications manager, on Friday, wanted to do an interview. So they interviewed Brian as well as Upper Arlington and City of Columbus. But part of the story was supposed to be about the need for lifeguards. So we are doing open interviews for lifeguards on Wednesday from 4 to 6 p.m. at the Gahanna swimming pool. And we really do need some additional folks because if we don't, we have to watch how much we are working our existing staff. And we don't want to be in a position where we have to start shutting down early or shutting down for a day here and there because we don't have enough lifeguards to cover. So if you have a high schooler or you know a high schooler who's looking for some summer work and some summer money to get them into the fall, please send them over to the open interviews on Wednesday. With the lifting of the COVID restrictions, our city hall operations have changed. We no longer are taking temperatures when you come in the door. We are following the CDC guidelines so that fully vaccinated visitors to any city facility do not have to wear a mask, a facial covering. However, if you are unvaccinated, we will ask you to wear a facial covering, and we will have those available if you do not have one. What else do I have? Code enforcement, I added this one on here since there was some discussion about that in one of, I believe Ms. Hoffman raised some questions. So just council, it is in my mayor's report, but we will be looking to present an update on code enforcement June 28th at the committee of the whole meeting, because we recognize the next committee of the whole meeting will largely be focused on sidewalks. So we're scheduling that at the June 28th committee of the whole meeting. We will give an update on where we are with rewriting and updating the SOPs. For code enforcement, the staffing updates that we have hired a new planning and zoning administrator whose first day will be Monday, June 28th. So we'll be excited to introduce him to all of you. He comes to us from the city of Columbus, so he has some great experience. He'll be lending to that role. So more information on him coming soon. But plan on June 28th to get an update on code enforcement and all of the things that Michael Blackford, as Director of Planning, has been working on, because I know he's been working really hard on updating how that division is operating and really modernizing how we're doing things. And the last thing attached to the council agenda is a proclamation for Pride Month, the month of June, as most of you know that. Part of what I've included in the Pride Proclamation is the language from our city charter. where we specifically denounce discrimination in many, many forms. But I think we all recognize that Pride Month is about creating awareness around the fact that we need to eliminate discrimination in the many, many forms that it exists. So the proclamation is there as well. And I know there are community members who have stepped up to organize a march, which I believe is June 24th. It's a Thursday evening. And I believe our Gahanna Division of Police have contacted them about just making sure that we're all on the same page, because we want anybody who's participating in that to be safe in the route that they follow. So I'm sure there will be more to come on that on social media as well. And that is all I have. Thanks for your time.
One question, Madam Mayor.
Yes, ma'am. Sir.
You may have said it in your comments.
Yep.
The Independence Day Parade is being put on by the Lions Club still. Is that correct?
It is. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is, with support from the Department of Parks and Recreation. But the Lions Club is indeed. Chuck Reese has been great to work with already.
We want to make sure that they get the recognition for the hard work they do to put that together. And they've done it for many years. And it is these sustaining organizations that keep these different activities going for the community, and they need to be recognized. So thank you.
Absolutely. No, last year was supposed to be a major anniversary year for them. And of course, we weren't able to hold the parade. So this should be a great celebration for them. Thank you for calling that out.
Certainly. Thank you. Mr. City Attorney.
Thank you. I have nothing to add at this time. However, I see there is an executive session. It doesn't say what it's about, so I don't know if you would need me or not. I'm happy to be here if you'd like me.
Okay. Thank you. Moving to council comments. Mrs. Angelou.
Actually, I called Carl the minute I read your notes, and just to say I wish him all the very best. I've known him for, I think, his whole career, and he's been a wonderful, wonderful person to know, and to be a police person here in our community. And we ought to really wish that all these people that are tending to retire now find happiness in their new positions. Also, it was really wonderful to go to the Lincoln Elementary ribbon cutting. It what a school. I mean, it's kind of like, it looks like it could be a high school actually, but it looks like it's going to be a terrific learning place for the children in our community. With that, I don't have anything else.
Thank you. Ms. Powers.
Yes, thank you. Again, thank you to Gahanna Parks and Rec and the Gahanna Lions Club for figuring out how to go ahead forward with the parade. I know that's really important to the community, and I'm really glad to see that. I know that the Lions Club is still looking for volunteers to support. If you're interested, people can contact Lions Club President Crystal McCann to get involved and to support that. A couple things I wanted to make sure I touched on tonight. I have submitted my constituent report and asked that Crystal include that in the agenda. There's a number of, I think, contact items that have been important in the last month that people may want to reference. The two resolutions that I want to kind of bring up just for council's consideration, I would like to address these at next month's next week's committee of the whole meeting. We did receive a communication about an Alzheimer's awareness resolution, and then I noticed on the front page of today's dispatch that there is an article about a new Alzheimer's drug that could significantly change the course of that progression of that disease. So I did want to suggest that we pay some heed to that resolution request. And I would like to bring that forward to the committee of the whole next week. I also know that given our position within Central Ohio and our close affiliation through board chair council member Angelo with MORPC, there is a resolution in support of passenger rail expansion that is making its way across Ohio. This expansion of passenger rail would be to the economic benefit of the region, and especially I think this could benefit Gahanna significantly given our proximity to the airport, given our proximity to Interstate 70 and 270. I think that we are really poised to potentially benefit from rail expansion. On the topic of resolutions, thank you so much to Mayor Jadwin for the LGBTQ Pride resolution. That is extraordinarily important to the community. It is an extraordinary significance that I believe this is the first LGBTQ Pride resolution in the city of Gahanna, proclamation. And yes, thank you for also pointing out that our charter does have some inclusive and non-discrimination language already in it. Certainly something that we could expand upon in the future. I also wanted to reference, we didn't mention this before. At least don't remember hearing this last month. It came to my attention that Amanda Ferguson, a longtime employee of the Ohio Herb Center, was honored as the COSI STEM Star for this year's Science Festival. She was a Grand Marshal for their festival and was recognized for advancing science and learning for our youth in across Central Ohio. I had an opportunity to talk to Amanda last week. She's particularly excited about some expanded youth programming that she's getting ready to get back to now that we're sort of reopening. And she's also very excited and looking forward to the Pollinator Palooza, participating in the Pollinator Palooza at the Franklin Park Conservatory. So congratulations to Amanda for the amazing recognition with COSI. Two more things and I'm almost done. Gahanna Foundation has launched 3 grants for landscaping design. If people are interested in submitting design ideas to the Gahanna Foundation for specific aspects at the old Gahanna Sanctuary, now known as the Gahanna Sanctuary, there is funding available for people who submit landscape designs, winning landscape designs. Lastly, also at the Gahanna Sanctuary, the organization, they are hosting a pre-fireworks Red, White, and Blues, which is going to be held at 8:00 p.m., hosting music, food, and beverages on July 3rd. And I guess it'll be a great place to be able to maybe see the fireworks. I think you should be able to see them, according to John. And the tower will be lit up in red, white, and blue that night. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Leesburg?
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to officially announce tonight that I am not seeking another term as the Ward 4 representative. I've enjoyed my time as a Ward 4 rep and have had the opportunity to meet lots of great people. But I'm enjoying my time with my kids as I get more involved in middle school and high school sports and in the school itself. So I'm going to be stepping down after this term. I was speaking with Sheila Vitale, and I understand she's running for Ward 4 for the Ward 4 position. I feel that Sheila's service on the Governor's Commission and the Charter Review Committee and her other experience in life would make her an excellent candidate this November. So I wish her the best, and that's all, folks.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Renner?
Yes, a good evening. I'm fighting allergies, so I'm probably coughing here and there, so sorry in advance. The one thing I just wanted to announce, we had Committee of the Whole, and we have a rising star, and we're not talking enough about it, in my opinion, but it's our Chief of Police, Jeff Spence. You know, not only did he give an excellent presentation about body cameras, and I don't know why we're not bragging about that and being a leadership in Central Ohio, but and also that the NAACP is you know, the vendor that we have is accepted by the NAACP. But the other thing though is that it came to my attention not too long ago that Chief Spence was also mentioned in a Channel 6 news item. Mothers of Murdered Columbus Children, the founder, Melissa Thomas St. Clair, she's been working with the city of Columbus and many others for the Stop the Violence campaign. And she mentioned in this news item that Chief Spence and her have talked, and she's very open and receptive and very proud of the leadership that Chief Spence has been doing on this issue. So I just want us to take a pause with all the other things. And thank you, Mayor, so much for the proclamation that you did for Pride Month. But I think we also need to take a look back at our police force and thank them and thank our chief for this work that he's been doing. That's all.
Thank you. Mr. Schnetzer.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I'll just say a quick thanks to the mayor and staff for the monthly mayor's report. I saw included in the report were a few happenings in and around Ward 2, which I've personally observed, 2 of which are the continued progress on Detroit street rebuilds, as well as the playground elements that are being replaced at Woodside Green Park. Just wanted to call those out. I think it's good to see those issue $12 work, without which it's really difficult to imagine how these projects would be funded in a timely fashion. And then also, this is our first meeting since the Memorial Day holiday, and yesterday, June 6th, was the 77th anniversary of the D-Day invasion, where 160,000 Allied troops crossed the English Channel to storm the beaches of Normandy, France. They suffered 10,000 casualties on the first day. And that battle marked a turning point in the war, and I don't think it's a stretch to say much of the world as we have come to know it really hinged on the outcome of that offensive. There's fewer than 500,000 World War II veterans alive today, so in closing, if you see a veteran, please take a moment to thank them for the incredible debt that we all owe. That's it for me.
Thank you. Mr. McGregor.
Thank you. I was going to say Karen, join Karen with, we went to the Lincoln High, and the mayor also, not Lincoln, the Lincoln Elementary ribbon cutting, which was really fun to go to, and found out that my granddaughter was she was selected to be one of the ribbon holders for the ribbon cutting. So that was fun to see her get that, do that. And also, it's a beautiful school. The gymnasium is different than any other one I've never been in one that has so many windows in a gymnasium. It's really light and beautiful, and they took advantage of lots of big windows and to let a lot of the natural light in. So I imagine it's going to be a great place for learning to take place. And yesterday we were at the farmers market. They've moved the location. It's behind Clark Hall, all the way back in the northwest corner by the creek, Rocky Fork Creek. And it was a great day. I'm sure there'll be more vendors as the season progresses, but it was a good variety yesterday, and it was a good day. My granddaughters had a booth, and they were probably the main, of all the vendors, they probably spent more money amongst other vendors than anybody else. They walked all over. They bought fudge, they bought kettle corn, they bought pickles. In the pickle line, there was 8 or 9 people all the time in line for the pickle. They had jerky, and so anyway, they had a great time. So anyway, I hope it continues as the season progresses. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you. My son and daughter had a chance to go to the farmers market. They enjoyed it very much. A lot going on. The street activity has been immensely welcomed. The week that the street had 3-inch curbs, 4-inch curbs to climb over, the cars to climb over is a little rough, but that has now been resolved. So they're working on top coats here across Helmbright and some of the other streets, and very much looking forward to the improvements. Not just obviously, certainly structurally and the foundational work that needs to be done, but also just the vibrancy that comes back from reinvesting in our community. There is on the agenda the option for an executive session.
Yeah, Mr. Locos, looking for my mute button. Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to enter an executive session under 5.4G.
40G.
Yep.
Get my paper. There's a motion on the table to go into executive session under 5.40G to consider confidential information related to the marketing plan, specific business strategy, production techniques, trade secrets, or personal financial statements of an applicant for economic development assistance, or negotiations with other political subdivisions respecting requests for economic development assistance, provided that the information is directly related to requests for economic development, and a quorum decides. Is there a second?
I'll second McGregor.
We have a motion by Mr. Leesburg and a second by Mrs. McGregor. Is there any discussion? No discussion. Roll call.
Leesburg,
Yes.
McGregor,
Yes.
Renner,
Yes.
Schnetzer,
Yes.
Angelo,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
and Lyric.
Yes. Motion carries. The clerk has added a executive session meeting for us to go to. Mr. Leesburg, I would expect council, mayor,
Just council.
just council. Okay, if the folks would hold, and we'll return from executive session.
Thanks.
Do a quick count here. I see 1, 2, 3, 4. Karen is on hold. Second. 1, 2. Oh. Oh, Karen hasn't rejoined yet. That's why she's on hold. James on mute. Marissa, Mike, Nancy, Stephen. I believe everybody's here except Nancy.
I'm here.
Oh.
At least I see me.
Oh, yep, there you are. You were on hold. You were, or I'm sorry, Karen. It's Karen that was on hold. Somehow I bounced meetings. Give me just a second here. And Karen, have you joined? I still see her on hold. I want to give her just a minute. She may be having some difficulty. Oh, here she comes. Hi, Karen. We were waiting on you.
Get back in.
No
Sorry.
No problem.
I was just trying to get in and out.
We have come out of executive session that there's no actions to be taken at this time. Would ask for a motion to adjourn by unanimous consent.
So moved.
Thank you. Have a good evening, everyone.
Good night.
Hey, guys.